Hello, folks. So, in this video, I wanted to talk about food, right? And how there are some tricky problems in food, right? So, you can just call this as like food problems. And let's get started, right? So, um, at the basic level, right, let me tell you why it's a bit tricky to actually eat to eat healthy food, to eat in a healthy manner and whatnot, right? And what does it mean to get like eat healthy food and get enough nutrition, right? I'm not a nutritionist, by the way, so disclaimer. I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a professional, some person who knows about the body or knows about food. This is based on what I've learned from the internet and understood. And a lot of times I've just interacted with AI, Google Gemini AI, and understood stuff by asking questions and whatnot, and also sometimes checking out Google search, basically again internet, right? So let's get started, right? Basically, from what I know, basically when you say nutrients, right? So basically, people say you need to get nutrients, you need to get vitamins, minerals, right? I don't know if vitamins, minerals also come under nutrients. In nutrients, you have micronutrients, right? I think that's where vitamins come in. Right? Usually, people say vitamins, minerals, and fiber, right? Like you should eat this. People say eat vitamins, have like vitamins in your diet and minerals and fiber. Vitamins, I think less quantity only, not too much. I mean, but what is less? What does less mean? Less than what? Or like it's a very subjective term, right? Less. Or what does more mean, right? So we have micro and then macro, right? I mean, for micro, usually in math, people say 10 power minus 3, right? Is that what we are referring here? And what does macro mean over here, right? Is it like very big? And what is it? I'm not sure like why it's called micronutrients. We'll come, but I just know this that basically you don't need too much of them compared to macronutrients, right? You need very less of these, very less in quantities compared to these, right? So, so what are micronutrients? I think you have your vitamins in it. I don't know if you have minerals. I'm guessing you do. I'm not sure. You can go check it out. I'll probably put up a different video on that. In macronutrients, you have the usual stuff, right? Which is protein, carbohydrates, and fat, right? What about fiber? So actually, here we saw fiber, right? Actually, fiber is actually a type of carbohydrate. It's called complex carbohydrate, right? There are only two major types of complex carbohydrates. It's fiber or it's starch, right? Um, we'll come back a bit to this. So this you can actually put this under this itself. So it's just three, and also I believe you can go check it out. So these three. So fiber basically is part of the carbohydrates, right? Complex carbohydrates. I like to call it a CC. Simply just remember it like that because I also like the idea that I know about CC in emails, carbon copy, and now I know it in food. So, I mean, you can just simply create any acronym or create any Like find any two words which start with C and that makes sense. Complex car or whatever, I don't know. But this is it's interesting that carbon copy is one thing in email, and I like to call it a CC in food, complex carbohydrate. Anyways, so how much do you need these, right? I think protein is based on your weight, right? I don't know if it also depends on your stuff like age, sex, right? And so basically you need nutrition in your body. Your body needs nutrition. Your body needs food, water, air, right? And your body needs exercise. At least this is what I know, right? These are some needs, right? And this will come with physical and not just physical, but mental exercises also, like say meditation and all that. So this should be nutritious, right? So and then clean. Basically, healthy means, what does healthy mean? Clean, pure, hygienic, right? I'm not sure if I wrote the spelling right, but yeah. Same way, this also has to be clean, pure, hygienic. Um, so hygienic, and yeah, it can have vitamins and minerals if needed. So usually it does. Optional, right? We'll come back to this. And then again, this has to be clean, pure, right? And good enough amount of exercise, right? Right. As part of that, we are discussing basically food and water today, like kind of food mainly. Water in the sense that just the vitamins and minerals. But think about it, right? When you say you want a nutritious food, we are basically referring to macronutrients and micronutrients. And we'll first of all talk about stuff like, I mean, people, everyone knows protein, carbohydrates, and fat. Now, I mean, so you know these three, and there are different subsections in these also. And I think there are different kinds of protein, different kinds of fat, for example, saturated fat, trans fat, and all that. Carbohydrates, complex carbohydrates, simple carbohydrates, and all that. And the other thing being vitamins and minerals, right? Micronutrients. Let's talk about a bit of vitamins, minerals, and then we'll come back to protein, carbohydrates, and fat. Some examples for vitamins would be vitamin K, vitamin C. These are all popular. Vitamin D, right? So again, in these itself, there might be some sub stuff. For example, in D, there's something called D3, I think. And then minerals, you have potassium, right? You have calcium. Like these are just examples. There are many more. Magnesium, right? Zinc, copper, iron, right? So these are all examples of vitamins, and these are all examples of minerals, right? So I think this is straightforward. Minerals that we basically consume, right? So these are minerals we consume, and there are more, right? Etc. Let's just put etc. Right. There are also vitamins like B and all that. Like there's this thing called B12, I think. Right. Vitamin C, I think you usually get it from citrus fruits. Right. Like orange, sweet lime. I think sweet lime is yeah. Any kind of orange, any variant and all that, and then lemon. Right. So, yep. I think K you can get it from banana. I'm not sure. And I think even you can get it from carrots. I can't remember. I think you do get enough potassium from say bananas. Calcium, people popularly say you get it from milk. I'm not sure if this is bananas is right, so I'm just not going to write it down. But yeah, so you usually get vitamins and minerals from fruits, right? And you might also get it from milk or dairy products, right? Because dairy products are based out of milk. That's hence the name dairy. So you have milk and milk derivatives products. So usually, apparently, people add basically synthesize these vitamins and minerals, like create them, or I don't know, like what they do exactly. If it's naturally done, synthetically, artificially done, but they get these vitamins and mix it with milk or anything. So food plus adding vitamins or minerals will give you something called as fortified food, right? So in case of milk, it will be called, example would be fortified milk, right? For example, one example of a fortified milk is like, I mean, I don't know brands and all, but I'm just saying that people add vitamin D to it, right? So, and then give you the milk, right? So that is that. So that's an different way to get vitamin D apart from getting it from, say, sunlight. But the tricky thing with sunlight is you also get UV rays, ultraviolet rays, which are not good for you. And it's pretty hot and all that. Not good for your skin and whatnot in the UV rays. And that's why people wear sunscreen and whatnot, right? To protect themselves from the UV rays and the heat, the burning sensation, and all that. So it can get tricky, and also you can't get vitamin D from sun during all times of the day. I mean, I don't know, that's what I've heard. You'll get it only from some specific times, right? And I think those specific times depend on where you are. I'm not sure. So, is what I've heard, specific times. Like, as in all times when the sun is out, just because the sun is shining light at the place where you are, doesn't mean it's also giving vitamin D, is what I heard. Go check it out. So we were talking about micronutrients, right? Let's talk a bit about macronutrients. And micronutrients, you need it very, very little, usually in at the quantity of like mgs, milligrams. That's why the name micro. Okay, actually, in math or in science in general, micro means 10 per minus 6, right? I don't know if it's milligrams that you need or micrograms and all that. You can go check it out, but you need very less, right? Unlike macronutrients, which you need it in grams. But just because I say grams doesn't mean like I can also get 1,000 grams and say um, I can get 1,000 grams and say it's 1,000 grams, but actually it's like a very big quantity, 1 kg. So basically, usually in some very few tens of grams, right? Max 100, something like that, right? So it's just tens of grams, meaning within 100 or something like that, each food item, and protein, fat also. In micronutrients, it's usually not like mega, some big number and then micro gram or milligram and all. Instead, it's something like say 1 milligram and stuff like that, right? I think it's like that, but basically it's pretty low. So some very few milligrams uh, and stuff like that. But I don't know the exact amounts. I'm just gonna strike it off and leave it. But I do know that, for example, for protein, it's based on your weight, which is usually a healthy weight, and it's also based on your exercise actually. So there is a factor of exercise, physical exercise, right? So yeah. So these two are related, right? Like you exercise more, you need some more protein. So you don't exercise at all, then you need less protein and stuff like that to build muscle and stuff like that, right? So vitamins, minerals, and like basically micronutrients, macronutrients, like what will they help you with, right? Um, let's look at a bit of that. Like you need good food, nutritious food, because these food will give you these nutrients, and these nutrients are used by your body to do stuff, right? um but I don't know how it exactly works though. I will have to learn, but I just heard that, for example, vitamin C can help you increase your immunity, I think. So that's something that I've heard. And I've heard that vitamin D can help you with energy levels, better energy levels. Low vitamin D will lead to low energy levels. And vitamin B, say for example, vitamin B12, I think if you have less of vitamin B12 than what is expected, then you will have joint pains, right? In your knee joints, elbows, and whatnot. So each has its own pros and all. And surely you should not have too much of anything. So too much of anything is bad, and too much of food is also bad. Especially too much of food is bad. And too much of micronutrients or too much of macronutrients than what is required is bad. So you go to extremes, it's problematic. This is normal. So if you go to this end, too high, or even just high, or low, too low, or just low, it's problematic. Always stay around the normal, right? So, I mean, I drink a lot of water, over drink water, but yeah, I mean, it has its own tricky stuff, but mostly to some, you can't exactly drink so much water that it'll harm you, but yeah, to some extent, you do have to drink water. Um, yeah, I mean, air, yeah, I mean, too much oxygen can also actually be problematic, apparently. And yeah, if you over exercise, you'll just exhaust yourself. If you overeat, it'll cause different kinds of problems, say indigestion, causing to say puking, basically vomiting, or diarrhea, basically, because indigestion, so it will not be digested and properly excreted. So yeah. And also some macronutrients, what are the advantages? For example, protein can help with building muscles. They can actually help with the repair of stuff, I think, tissues, I think. I have to go back and read again, I forgot. But you do need enough protein. And carbohydrates, for example, if you take the case of fiber helps with better digestion. So yeah, I mean, there are actually different kinds of fiber. For example, there is soluble fiber and then insoluble fiber. Soluble fiber, right? Insoluble fiber. So yeah, fiber does help with digestion. How does it help? I think I mean it's I just know it's like smooth digestion. People generally recommend eating, say, vegetables and fruits. These are some examples of fiber. So insoluble fiber is an example. I mean, what does soluble mean and insoluble mean? Soluble, it's a chemical term. In chemistry it means basically you can dissolve it in some solution. In this case it's a it can be dissolved in water, and in insoluble it cannot be dissolved in water. Example of this would be, say, dry fruits, say almonds and all that. Nuts, not dry fruits, sorry, nuts, right? Almonds, cashew nuts, and all. And soluble fiber, I have to go check the example. I think fruits, vegetables might come under this, I think. And then there's starch. So basically, there's a big difference between fiber and starch, right? In case of fiber, your body does not have anything naturally inside it to actually break down fiber. So it uses the another living organism inside your body, basically, which is bacteria, right? So it uses bacteria which is there in your gut, right? Basically in your small intestine. Sorry, I think it's the large intestine, yeah. So first, I think food goes to large intestine. Small intestine first, and then the large intestine, right? First, small intestine. This is what I remember. So usually, if your body cannot break down the food in small intestine, it gets broken down in the large intestine. There is also some breaking down happening in the stomach, I think. So yeah, and I think these all have muscles, right? Um, muscles, muscles. So even the stomach has, and even the esophagus has. That's why if you um, like do a headstand and stand upside down and eat food, you can still actually digest because the esophagus has muscles, so it will move the food down towards your foot and not let gravity, you know, let it and not let gravity do its thing, wherein and gravity will be trying to do its thing. So your esophagus muscles will actually work a bit more, but you can swallow food still. Once you swallow, it will go towards your foot only. It will not just come back through your mouth again. So your esophagus also has muscles. I believe your stomach also has muscles, and then small intestine and large intestine also. So your small intestine does not have. I think they call the term as enzymes that break down food, and hence what happens? It goes to large intestine where there is gut bacteria, right? And that breaks down the food and breaks down, say, fiber. Um, and what that causes is there's a byproduct over here, which is gas. So that's how you actually end up farting, right? So this is a byproduct of gut bacteria working on fiber and breaking down fiber. Of course, you can have gas due to other reasons also. For example, if you drink some soda, some carbonated drink, and whatnot. And I think that, like, usually if the gas is formed in small muscle, like the small intestine, um, which has muscles, or the large intestine, let's just put it as INT. Like, sorry, if the gas gets produced, if any gas is actually produced in the small intestine or stomach, it comes out through your mouth, right? Um, but if the gas gets produced in the large intestine, it just comes out of your butt and you're farting. So, and usually that happens when gut bacteria is working on fiber and trying to break it down and then forming gas, right? So if you don't want to actually fart, um, or like not fart a lot, you'll have to look at your fiber intake, right? So yeah, that's that. And yeah, I mean, even in fiber, Basically, I think soluble fiber helps with smoothing your excretion, basically pooping. But insoluble fiber will actually add bulk to your stool, to your poop, and you will poop harder, so it can lead to constipation if you eat too much insoluble fiber. But if you eat too much insoluble fiber, I don't know if it can lead to diarrhea, but yeah, I mean, just be careful. So too much of anything is not a good idea. So yeah, just eat the right amount and just leave it. So that is that. So you can actually read about how much fiber you can eat, how much grams of fiber, right? And you can learn about how much fiber is there in every food item from online. By the way, for starch, there is an enzyme. So basically, in general, they say complex carbohydrates are hard to digest. They're especially talking about fiber, I believe. Um, so starch, there is a enzyme in the small intestine specifically for starch, and so it doesn't get broken down by gut bacteria. So if someone says complex carbohydrates are broken down by gut bacteria and then forms gas, they are wrong, I think, because that is only the case for fiber. So they're most probably referring only to fiber then, which is one of the major kinds of complex carbohydrates. The other major kind or class of carbohydrates is starch, for example, potatoes and all. So that there is an enzyme for it naturally in our body, and the small intestine has that enzyme, and it works on the starch and breaks it down, right? So that is that. So we have quite a picture over here. So yeah, I mean, so why is eating the right food and whatnot is a bit difficult? Well, the thing is this, right? So you need the right amount of stuff. You shouldn't eat too much or too little. And if you don't eat something the right amount, or if you don't get something the right amount, say a vitamin, a mineral, that causes problems, right? So, for example, say you have less vitamin D, then basically it will lead to vitamin D deficiency. That's what the situation is. That's the condition, and you will have energy level issues. You'll feel tired, sleepy, or whatever, right? So it's important that you eat the right food, right, which has the right nutrients, right? And it's also important to avoid the bad food, right? For example, some food it's what do you say? It's just unhealthy. So we look at some kinds of foods. One moment. I think in Spanish it would be called un momento, I think. I don't know. I know one is uno or un. Uno, dos, tres, one, two, three. Moment, I can simply say momento. Anyways. So basically, you need to eat the right food. Right food. Basically, healthy food. Right food or healthy food. Right. And you need to eat the right amount of food. Right amount of food. Or you can call it as a healthy amount of food. Right. And then yeah, I mean, that's all. So you need to have it right, and you need to have the right in terms of like healthy and in terms of quantity, right? Quality and quantity, right? Both matters. So it's about quality and quantity. So good quality or great quality, healthy quality, and then quantity also matters. It should not be too much or too little. It should be the right amount, right? So, so yeah, I mean, the same is true for many other stuff like exercise, quality of exercise, and quantity of exercise, air, water, right? Now let's look at what are the tricky stuff with eating just the right quality food, right? Now the thing is, in terms of food, right? There's food availability, right, or accessibility and availability. You can talk about that. Is it accessible, right? Is it available? Like kind of related. So I'll just leave it here. And then the cost of the food, right? Feasibility and availability, that is also a thing. So basically at a high level, what is feasible is what we're looking at. So we're looking at cost, right? And what else? I think that's it. Mainly these, right? A lot related. Basically, you're looking at feasibility mainly, wherein you're looking at is it accessible easily? Can you get it? Or available, easily available at the time that you want that to, and at a cost that you can afford, right? So people who are poor, right, they can't get access to good food, good quality food, and also especially even if it's bad quality, they can't get enough quantity because they are poor. So if you're poor, it's gonna be hard, right? So and the other thing with poor people is they don't eat the meal at the right times. You have to actually eat your meal at the right times, right? So if you don't eat your meals at the right times, that will cause obesity apparently. That's one reason apparently that why poor people are actually obese. You might wonder, are they eating a lot? How can they eat a lot if they don't have enough money? Well, it's possible that they eat too much whenever they get the food, which is only at times, and eating too much at once probably causes obesity, and also eating infrequently also I think is a problem, which caused obesity in general. So you can go check it out how obesity and being poor are related, right? So there are research around this, statistics around this, and reasoning around this, right? So and then you have to look at like for example, if when you're talking about accessibility, availability, you're looking at say where you are, the geography, right? Depending on where you are, different kinds of food is available, and also some is like natural or native, natural, native, and all that. Other is non-native, which is imported, right? They import it off, right? Now, native basically you can just grow it there itself and it's available. And other thing that I heard is it's better to eat what your ancestors ate, right? Because your body came from their all their genes, and your genes are used to actually processing the food, the same kind of food that they ate. So it'll be able to absorb nutrients. Just because you eat nutrients doesn't mean you'll absorb it. That's also a thing, right? Eating nutrients is one thing, and then does it get absorbed is another thing. Absorption. You have to ensure that it gets absorbed. It gets digested, it gets absorbed, right? For example, apparently, if you don't eat properly, for example, let's say you don't chew properly, let's say, you have to eat the right way. If you don't chew properly, you are not breaking down food properly, right? When you can't break it down properly and your digestive system also can't break it down properly, the enzymes when they act on the food, right, when they process the food, break down the food and try to process the food, they can't break it down properly, then they can't absorb it. So basically, enzymes, I think, absorb the nutrients. So for better absorption, it's better to chew better, right, than to not chew. And chewing also helps with digestion, and it helps your digestive system be able to easily break down the food and process the food. If you don't chew, I think your different parts of the digestive system will struggle a bit to actually break down the food by itself. In most cases, it can, I think, but not always. I think you can't just eat some really solid big food just like that, just swallow it and expect it to get digested. It'll just come out as it is mostly. So if it's your body is not able to break it, the muscles in your system, digestive system, and whatnot, and like the different enzymes and whatnot, right? And the acid in your stomach, stomach acid. So that is that. So your ancestors ate, let's say my ancestors ate bananas. It's better for me to eat bananas than to just avoid bananas and look for an alternative way to get the nutrients, same nutrients that bananas give, right? So nutrients, the same set of nutrients, say XYZ nutrients, can come from, say, food A or can come from food B, right? If I don't like food A, I can go for food B. But the thing is this, right? It's important to understand not just the pros of the food. Any food that you eat will most probably have pros, but it'll also have cons. For example, you eat chips, right? Say potato chips or French fries, right? So the thing is, these will have nutrients, these will have even nutrition information written on them. They will say fat is this much, they will say protein is this much, they might not have protein, I don't know, it depends, but carbohydrates, it'll surely be there. It's hard to avoid carbohydrates actually. So people who follow keto diet, I don't know how they do it, but it's really hard to follow zero or no carbohydrates. Fruits, vegetables, almost everything has carbohydrates, and it has carbohydrates in good amount usually. So usually they will have nutrition information, right? But the thing is this, they will also have synthetic or artificial chemicals in it. So everything is a chemical. It's just about, is it good chemical or bad chemical? Basically, artificial or synthetic chemicals are bad chemicals to be consumed, right? For consumption. Apparently, there is a saying in Hindi that man belongs to nature. Nature does not belong to man. Man belongs to nature. So, anything natural that comes from nature, we can eat it and it shouldn't cause a problem for us. But anything synthetic, it can have bad side effects, especially if you consume it too much and whatnot. Right? So, anything synthetic that is synthesized and man made and created, basically, man made, right? Human made, basically, created in a lab or whatever, that'll all be there in these junk food, right? That's the main problem. It's not even calories. People worry about calories, but calories is not the main thing that you worry about. I mean, of course, for people trying to lose weight, they will worry about it. But weight is not your biggest problem. Of course, being obese, it leads to like basically you're obese. Obesity basically is the problem, and that can have problems like say diabetes and whatnot. I don't know how that works, how that happens, like high weight leading to that, but that's the whole like usual idea that if you're obese, you're prone to a lot of diseases, cardiovascular and whatnot, like and diabetic stuff and whatnot, diabetes and all that. But in general, calories are not the only problem. Let's say you get 100 calories. If you get it from good food, great. If you get it from bad food, calories, I think, is just about the energy that you get, right? But there is also nutrition, right? If you don't get enough nutrition out of this, you get energy, okay, you eat food for energy, right? And you eat food for nutrition also. You can call energy as one part of the nutrition, because energy, I think, you get from like carbohydrates and all. Usually people say you get energy from carbohydrates. So if you eat enough carbohydrates, you can get enough energy, I think. But then you need to get your enough vitamins, minerals, protein, fat, and all, right? Fat, the good kind, basically. I think there's bad kind also. So, and then synthetic fats and all that. So it's important that you don't focus just on the calories, which a lot of people already do. They do focus on the calories, that's fine. But don't just focus on the calories. Focus on calories and also the nutrition, right? And also focus on, is there any bad chemical? How much good does this food do and how much bad? Is the good greater than bad, or good is less than the bad? A lot of times you'll notice that in junk food, the good is less than the bad, right? So it'll be too bad that it's not worth it usually. But how do you find this out? I'm yet to come to a formula and whatnot, or an understanding, but I just know that I will not eat some stuff. Say French fries, anything deep fried, I don't eat it. 99% of the times I ensure that I don't eat anything deep fried. I try to avoid Indian sweets, man-made sweets, basically. Man-made sweets, basically, which means um, chocolates, desserts. As much as possible, I avoid them. Pastries, cakes, basically desserts. So yeah, anything sweet that is man-made, I avoid it, right? For example, white sugar, right? And I also avoid stuff like some fruits also. Sometimes I eat it, but very rarely these days. Watermelon, it's very, very sweet. There is what else? Grapes. There is what else? Sugarcane, from which people get sugar, right? And then any form of sugarcane that is man-made, say I don't take it at all. Say jaggery and stuff like that, right? And basically man-made sweets, anything man-made, any food that is man-made and that's sweet, I don't take it. Fruits are also sweet, they have natural sugar basically. um, so natural sweetness, but these are too much sweet. And the other problem is, when you actually eat vegetables, fruits, right, which are actually natural, there's one problem. The thing is, the fruits that we eat today and the vegetables that we eat today are different from like the fruits and vegetables that our ancestors ate, because the farms producing these are different, right? Their environments are different, right? So, and the seeds and whatnot. So when I say environment, there is the weather, which at a high level, when you see it for multiple years, it's climate, I think. Say 25-year weather is climate, I think. And then there is the seed, the water, the quality of the weather, the quality of the seed, quality of the water. Is the seed a natural or a hybrid or just synthetic? I don't know. A lot of hybrid food items are there nowadays. Different variants of fruits and vegetables and whatnot. And then there are actually pests, right? And because of pests, farmers put pesticides, fertilizers, and whatnot. I don't know. I don't know. Fertilizer, I think, is for the soil to fertilize, I think. So the soil, right? So fertilizers. For pests, people will put pesticides, I think. I don't know what is fertilizer exactly used for. I'm guessing it's to fertilize the soil, and I don't know exactly what that means. I just know that fertilization means some form of like something related to reproduction, right? Fertility, right? Usually in human terms, it's about babies and whatnot, and how babies are created and whatnot. But in the case of this, I think it's about how reproduction happens in plants, right? So I'm guessing this will help with fertilizing the soil, but I'm not sure though. Right? Pesticides, right? To kill pests, right? Basically, bad chemicals. Fertilizers, I don't know if they are bad or good. How synthetic is it? Natural. Um, Pests, is it natural? Is it bad chemicals? Pesticides, bad chemicals or good chemicals? Basically, if it's good, it means it's most probably natural and hence good. And if this is hybrid or man made pesticides, then they're just bad chemicals, man made, synthetic, and whatnot. So, natural would be, I don't know, some natural way to kill or avoid pests, right? Basically, if you can actually just avoid or like block pests, that's also a great thing to do, right? Um, so yeah, I mean, because of some of these, or like all of these, are a combination of, or many of these, um, the fruits, vegetables that we eat are not the same, right? And not just this, there is also human intervention wherein they adulterate food, right? So, for example, I've heard in India that people actually inject sugar to watermelons. Sugar injections, sugar syrup, right? I think it's SYREP. So, let's say this is a watermelon. They inject it using an injection and whatnot. That makes it sweet. And I think it's hard to know if watermelon was actually tampered with and adulterated, right? And you also have adulteration in cereals and whatnot, right? For example, I've heard that white peas is actually colored, artificial color, to make it as green peas, right? So how scary is that, right? So even if I'm eating some green peas, can I really tell if it's actually an artificially colored white peas? I think there is something called white peas. I'm not sure. That's what I've heard. So yeah, that's the crazy part. So also the other thing about food is that so basically you need to avoid unhealthy food. Yes, you need to look at the ingredients of the food, the conditions at which it was made, hygienic conditions, the people's hands, if they used hands, are they hygienic, are the nails cut, the water they used, is it reverse osmosis and processed water which actually is good and not bad and still has the minerals in it, say copper or whatever, so zinc, or at least is it like added up and whatnot. A lot of water purifiers these days help with fortifying your water, I think. So yeah, apart from purifying your water, fortifying meaning adding or like helping with adding or mixing zinc, copper, and stuff like that. Basically, anything that's good for your body, of course. But I don't know the quality of the copper or the zinc that they use and whatnot. There is always quality, usually, right? Anything that you get these days, there's quality. Uh, so, for example, I get peanuts these days, and then apparently there are different quality peanuts. The high quality peanuts are costlier, and the lower quality peanuts are cheaper. And people have started to label the peanuts, loose peanuts. In India, you can get loose peanuts as quality one, quality two, and accordingly price it as like rupees, whatever XYZ, rupees ABC, and usually there'll be quite some difference here, right? And yeah, I mean, you have your bad food where hygiene is a problem, usually. You eat out and all that. Even in farms, hygiene can be a problem, like they're not being hygienic, or during transportation, right? During food preparation or cooking, let's say, cooking food, prep, say cutting the vegetables and whatnot, cooking, all of that. And then in farm, during production of the food, farm farm to table is what the people call it as, or farm to shop. Basically, during transportation, all that, right? And storing conditions, right? Is it fresh vegetables or was it just frozen or something, right? Same for food. So storing conditions are storage conditions. So cooking, food prep, transportation, all of that also matters, and the quality and all that, of course. And in terms of cooking, say if they're using hands, hands are clean. If they're using water, is the water clean and whatnot. And what else? So look at hygiene, yes. Another thing, let's say everything is proper, though it won't be. Ideally, it can be I mean, ideally, in an ideal world, yes, you will want it to be proper. Ideally, you will want it to be perfect, but it won't be the case. But let's say our bodies can take it somehow for the time being, right? Let's say everything is okayish, right? Now, let's say your food is okayish. Now, how do you eat it? Like, how much do you eat? How do you eat? Let's say you chose the right quality of food, right? So that is done. Now let's come to quantity. Right? It's a very tricky thing. Vitamins you need to get the right amount. Minerals you need to get the right amount. Basically, your micronutrients you have to get the right amount, and then you have to get stuff like say antioxidants and whatnot, right? I think it's a kind of mineral. I'm not sure. Like basically antioxidants will be a section in the minerals, I think, and some can be vitamins. I don't know. Like basically there are some stuff like these which can be vitamins or minerals, but basically micronutrients. And then you look at carbohydrates. So you have to get the right amount, and you have to eat the right amount of these, right? Whenever you eat food, you just see something like say bread. What does this have, right? So the quantity and the quality, right? The one tricky thing is sometimes you eat a lot of food and you get very full. Sometimes you eat less food and still you can get full. You're like, how did I get full? Different kinds of food will make you full differently, right? Fiber, for example, can keep you full for quite some time, or protein for like can keep you full for a good amount of time, right? So this is called satiety, right? For example, unhealthy food, it will not make you satiate, like it will not make you feel full. You'll eat a lot. So there is satiety, and then there is calories. You need to eat the right amount of calories. Let's say you eat vegetables, raw food, then that's actually low calories, but it'll make you feel very full quickly. Then you will have eaten less calories, which is also not good. You'll feel less energetic and you'll feel full, right? And you'll have gotten some good enough amount of nutrients, maybe, but not enough because you can't eat a lot of vegetables, right? So, but you'll have gotten a good enough amount of nutrients, but not too good, I guess. You need more, probably. So that's the tricky thing, right? So I think that is tricky to manage satiety levels, to manage calories, and the quantity of the food, right? Like in grams or kilograms, whatever you call it. Like, let's look at it as grams, the quantity of the food. like 100 grams of bread, how much grams of carbohydrates and whatnot it has, how much calories, how much satiation, right? If you feel very full, usually in raw food, which is good, you feel satiated quickly, but you need to eat enough, and it's hard to eat, right? To get the right amount of calories, or it's so I think, right? So that is one problem that I see. Okay, I need to use the washroom now, so I'm going to stop making this video and I'll make a part 2 if I have more to say. Bye bye.